Navigating through the energies of New Earth is not an easy process and can become extremely overwhelming at times. As we all ascend into higher frequencies, we're all being guided to embrace our own unique divine pathway, a pathway created in the vibration of love. Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte, as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within and understand the message being shared even greater. When you live in the frequency of love, there is no competition, so Carrie will be joined regularly by fellow soul family members who will bring forth wisdom and knowledge she knows should be shared on a global level. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners to see what message Spirit wants to share with all those listening in for the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, come and join us now on Vibe Nation Radio, here on the IOM Radio Network.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another edition of Vibe Nation Radio. Happy New Year. This is the first show of the year, and I'm so grateful to be starting the new year off with a very dear friend and our special guest today, Chris Anderson, better known as One Feather. He's an astrologer, intuitive, and he's a teacher of ACIM. And for those that are wanting to find Chris, you can find him at onefeatherjournal.com. You can also find his information on my website, carrieturcotte.com. And as we get into the show, you will find where you can find Chris, because he can share that with you himself. So, Chris, are you ready to launch off this brand new show that we are starting today called Charting the Tides of Life?
I am, and I think we're going to have kind of a fun adventure here. So hopefully everybody who is tuning in is ready to approach 2017 without a lot of preconceptions. You know, at the beginning of every year, ideally we should have a blank slate, and if we can achieve that state of consciousness, then we can approach the new year or the coming year with that ability to respond to, you know, the residue of the past as well as the possibilities of the future. And so here we are, ready for 2017.
Oh, and boy, do we have a beautiful wave of energy coming our way throughout the whole year to navigate through. And that's why I'm so honored that we have come together to do Charting the Tides of Life. And today's show, we're going to talk about January, and we get into a little bit about the upcoming year. And then Chris will be back again on the 30th, and we will be talking about February. And then it's the last Monday of every month, the Charting of Tides of Life with Chris will be on, and we'll be talking about the month that's coming up. So I'm really looking forward to this, Chris. I think that, you know, you have so much to bring to the table, and your wisdom knowledge with not only about astrology, but, you know, about soul maturity and, you know, the spirit, the tarot, you know, who knows where the show's going to take us. I feel that you and I have a very strong connection, and together we're going to be able to speak on behalf of the higher presence to allow all those that are listening in to understand, you know, we're in this together. And, you know, like you said, living in the moment and enjoying life for what it is a beautiful way to live life.
That is. The core of living life, actually, is the recognizing the oneness. And actually, in approaching that oneness, I thought I would start off with something that is not actually astrologically centered, but I think it's something that was written quite a few years ago by a fellow by the name of Robinson Jeffers. He wrote basically a book of prose called Not Man Apart. And the final section of that book, it reads, "Then what is the answer? Not to be deluded by dreams, to know that great civilizations have broken down into violence, and their tyrants come many times before. when open violence appears, to avoid it with honor or choose the least ugly faction. These evils are essential. To keep one's own integrity, be merciful and uncorrupted, and not wish for evil, and not be duped by dreams of universal justice or happiness. These dreams will not be fulfilled. To know this, and know that however ugly the parts appear, the whole remains beautiful. A severed hand is an ugly thing, and a man dissevered from the earth and the stars and his history for contemplation, or in fact, often appears atrociously ugly. Integrity is wholeness. The greatest beauty is organic wholeness, the wholeness of life and things, the divine beauty of the universe. Love that, not man apart from that, or else you will share man's pitiful confusions or drown in despair when his days darken. And I think that really is, the core of this next stage of awakening, is that complete recognition of how the entire universe is one complete whole phenomenon. And if we stand apart, if we seek separation, that is the first step into the degradation and ultimately the downfall of our capacity to participate in the world. So we really have to look at, the universe that we're surrounded by as an internal process, an internal phenomenon. And that's the beauty of astrology, is that we can get a sense of the movement of the heavenly bodies and recognize that they are reflections of aspects of our own self, of who we are in our totality, not who we are as a separate being.
That's true. And as you're talking about this, I'm just being pulled into how, again, I've been working with a lot of clients and asking people to go a little bit deeper when it comes to numerology, because it's out there. This is the number one year. It's a year of new beginnings. It's a new energy cluster that we're stepping into. But this is a year one on a global level. What is your personal year? Because my personal year is an 8. So when I look at one as society, as building the new, and myself as an 8, shows me how I can work into this energy and work with it. Again, we're all one, but you want to go with the energy and work with your own inner power of the abilities that you have to create a more beautiful planet that we live on. And I know I've been channeling that Mother Earth and Gaia is going through a great healing this month, and motherly energies are being healed to bring that love back. That, if you think about all the people on this planet that have gone through motherly issues, or they've lost a mother, or they never had a mother growing up, or whatever it is, there's a great healing that I'm picking up. It's happening this month. And when you're talking about seeing us all as one, again, we are living this beautiful life because of Gaia, because Mother Earth. So we need to work with her and know we are one to bring the beauty out in 2017.
Exactly. And, we, on our highest level of our true self, we are the creators of Gaia. So we are the creators of this opportunity to come into corporeal being. And while we're in this realm, we have to be very sensitive to the fact that, we are not separate. We are participating in one huge, movement of cosmic creation.
Wow. And before we even, I don't even think we should get into the stars yet, because we will be going to a commercial break shortly. So, sorry, I just interrupted what you were going to say. What were you going to?
I was just going to leap into the stars, but no, we can continue on this venue for another minute or two until we're ready for our commercial.
Yeah, I thought, and we'll jump right in. And, it's, again, just I'm feeling that, with what's going on with the inauguration and everything, again, my friends, this is a global event. It's not a typical presidency that, it's another president coming in, this and that. I mean, everybody on this planet is being affected by what's taking place. And this is where, again, we need to see that we are one, we are connected. And you want to take the time to, go within and feel that love you have for self and all that you're grateful for, that you have a roof over your head, that you've got food on the table, that, you have the ability to listen to this radio show. When you really are grateful for all that you have in your life, it becomes a ripple effect. And if we all started doing this and started focusing on peace and harmony and doing it a couple of times a day, instead of feeding, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, that's happening, we really need to learn that the love starts within us. And when we find that love and know we are one and that pureness, it has a beautiful ripple effect.
It does. And, as we can identify all the various aspects within us, which is, to be able to identify that part of myself that is Donald Trump and that part of myself that, is the child in Aleppo who's just been dug out of the rubble of bombings, then we can actually start to consciously focus love on those parts of that self. And that's how we actually heal. If you attack people, if you reject people, if you push people away from you, what you actually are doing is rejecting the healing that can occur. And so everybody does at some point have to acknowledge that the only way a Donald Trump or a war-torn child in Africa or Asia or whatever can exist is because we are refusing to allow that part within us to be healed. So we don't pound people into submission. We don't approach it from the level of trying to eradicate the world of evil people. We have to use that core essence of love to make, the difference.
Absolutely. Perfect. Right way to end up the first segment. When we come back, my friends, from commercial break, we'll jump right into the stars and the cosmos and see what Chris is going to share with all of his wisdom and knowledge. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Have you been searching for a perspective beyond the mainstream? Check it out. Join your hosts Cielito Pascual and Diana Gold Holland on Share International Radio for thought-provoking views behind the news, Sundays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio. You can also find us at shareontheairradio.org. This may be the message of hope you've been waiting for.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today my special guest is Chris Anderson, better known as One Feather. And this is the launch of our monthly show called Charting the Tides of Life. So, Chris, do you want to jump right into the astrology and enlighten us with what we're up against this month?
Sure. And I think first I'm going to give a little overview of how astrology works for people, so that when they're looking online and trying to figure out what's going on with their own personal chart, they can have kind of a guide to work from. And basically, astrology has, like everything else in this universe, a dualistic nature. There's the inner realm and the outer realm. And so the first 4 planets, Mars, Earth, Venus, and Mercury, and the Sun at the source or the center of it, is your personal life, your inner life, your effect on the greater world around you and your role in society. So when you're looking to see, what's happening inside my world, you'll put most of your attention on those 4 planets and the Sun. And the Moon is very, very, very much an indicator as to what your hidden agendas are, what the areas that lurk in the subconscious are all about. So it will have a universal effect on everybody's participation or ability to participate in this physical realm. The outer planets, once you get out to Mars, the next step is going out to Saturn, but in between Mars and Saturn there is this asteroid belt, a belt of debris. It's kind of like a demarcation line. So then we start looking at Saturn and Jupiter and Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, the outer planets, as being society's consciousness, the collective consciousness. So this is where we look at the major indicators as to what's going on with the society that we're participating in, and the society of not only the Earth, but who knows how many other societies there are spread across the cosmos. Yeah. So with that as kind of a guideline when you're looking at your own chart, when you're trying to figure out what's going on with the astrological process, this year launches off with actually an interesting phenomenon, which is that the only planet that we've got going retrograde as we're moving into 2017 is the planet of Mercury. So what is a retrograde, you might ponder? And a retrograde is basically a pulling back. In other words, it's an opportunity to go back and correct problems that are either not revealed to us yet, or situations that we need to put extra attention on. Now, in actual reality, the planets themselves are not traveling backwards, but in proportion to our place in our orbit around the Sun, we, especially with the inner planet Mercury, but also with Venus, there are periods of times when it appears that they are traveling backwards in the sky. And during those periods of time, you'll find that problems generally will come up that you need to put your attention on. So Mercury is all about communication, and whenever we're having communication issues, basically Mercury, when it goes retrograde, is going to really highlight that, and it's going to say you have to look at this specific area of life. And communication, if we were living in an ideal state, we would be completely telepathic and totally transparent. We wouldn't have any hidden thoughts. We wouldn't have any murderous thoughts or angry thoughts or frustrated thoughts. But, even though in our truest spiritual self, our truest spiritual identity, we do live in that state, while we're here in this mortal plane, we have closed ourselves off and shut ourselves down to that option. So Mercury is going to lift things to the surface when it goes retrograde, and we're starting off 2017 with Mercury still in a retrograde phase. It'll probably, it goes direct January 8th, where it's traveling once again in a forward motion. But right now, it's giving us this sense that the year is launching with communication issues. And we can see that because, all you have to do is turn on the radio, and all the communication is based on point and counterpoint. I think this, no, that's wrong, I think that. And we're seeing that kind of amped up right now, politically, spiritually, throughout the world. We're seeing a lot of frustration, anger, enmity. All of these issues are fired by our either ability to or our inability to communicate clearly. So we're starting off 2017 saying the big issue for this year, the point we need to really put our attention on, is our capacity to interact with each other, our ability to communicate truth clearly. And, truth is one thing that really doesn't have to be defended. When you speak the truth, you don't have to stand up and defend it, because truth is self-evident. And, you'll come to that realization the more you stand in your own personal truth. Mm-hmm. So that's how we're kind of launching off this year with that as one of the primary themes. And looking at some of the other planetary lineups here, we've got Venus currently at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So Venus in Aquarius is kind of in a cold position. And this is setting a theme for us as far as looking at our emotions and those areas where we may be a little bit emotionally raw. Mm-hmm. Because our capacity to connect with others is based on our emotional health. So right now, as we're stepping into the new year, we need to put a little bit of healing attention on our emotional range and how we are perceiving others and how willing we are to be able to forgive others and to just step into the moment, step into the now and release the past. We've got Mars in Pisces at a very interesting position. It's as we came into the new year, Mars was conjunct to Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune is a planet of higher consciousness and spirituality. It also has a lot to do with illusion and dispelling illusion. And in order to get rid of the illusions in life, we have to, experience them and then be able to clear them. Yes. So Mars is bringing a little bit of an edge into that Neptunian energy. Mars is the activator. Mars wants to initiate. Think of a little pitchfork, and Mars is going to poke you in the butt. So it's also going to energize you in the way of physical stamina, physical endurance. So translating that conjunction of Mars and Neptune, the major theme for this coming year is all about getting your spirituality activated, getting, at that point where you are ready to step into your truth as a spiritual being. So that is a very positive and very, what's the word for it, compelling kind of energy. So a lot of people may be feeling a little bit restless, that restless, I want to go out and save a whale kind of energy right now. And these transits are relatively fast with the inner planets, Mars, Mercury, Venus, the Moon. They're zipping around here. But nonetheless, it's a spark. It should be a spark that hopefully will, come to fullness as a fire, a passion, for you to make this a year of spiritual initiation, spiritual stepping forth into, a better way of life, a higher way of life. The next planet we'll look at is the Moon, and like I said, the Moon is always whirling madly around the Earth. Every 28 days, the Moon completes a process of going through each sign. So that shows you how your subconscious is always processing and computing and creating. And a lot of this stuff that's going on in your subconscious is stuff that you're oblivious to. So what we want to do is embrace that lunar energy, bring it into our consciousness, bring it into the sun's energy, and the sun is the activator in our charts, so that we don't have a process of push-pull going on. When the moon and the sun are in conflict, then that means that we are trying to suppress something. We're trying to keep something hidden that we don't want to look at or that we don't want to address. So starting off the year with that moon in an early stage in Pisces here, coming out of Aquarius and conjuncting Venus, the moon is telling us that this year is all about looking at our suppressed emotional range, looking for those regions where we have opposing elements going on. I want happiness, but I can't give myself happiness because the happiness that I desire, I don't deserve. And that really is the core of all of our inner conflict, is feeling shame or feeling like we don't deserve better. Pardon me. And the moon is us trying to pull that up so that we can examine those hidden, darker realms and actually start to embrace them and put love into them. We're not going to, again, subdue them or beat them into submission. The whole process of awakening is based on love of self, love of your neighbors, and love of all of creation. So that's, kind of the personal themes that are going on for January 1st and 2nd. These are themes that we will carry forward into the new year, and these are areas that we need to be willing to work on.
Yes, beautiful. And it goes with what I've been channeling about this motherly healing of the motherly energy that love needs to put back in. And really, it's the whole month of really tapping into that love. So when we come back, Chris will continue moving forward with the astrology, so stay tuned. We'll be right back at this commercial break.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
When Dad needed help getting around, I became his driver. Soon enough, it was up to me to be his housekeeper and financial manager, too. When he moved in, I became his cook and even his nurse. But no matter what roles I play, I know I'm still his daughter.
We understand the roles you play. So to help, we created aarp.org/caregiving, where you can connect with experts and other caregivers. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today my special guest is Chris Anderson, better known as One Feather, and it's the launching of our show, Charting the Tides of Life. And before we went to commercial break, Chris had just gotten into the aspect of the moon. So, Chris, I'm going to hand it back over to you, where you can continue sharing your wisdom and knowledge with those that are listening in.
Absolutely. Well, basically, to reiterate there, we were looking at those inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, the Earth, and, of course, the Sun, which is at the center of everything. The Sun is the life force and the source of light, illumination, understanding, growth, and creativity. So now we're going to step across that asteroid barrier and look at some of the outer planets and what is going on with the conditions of society in general. And The first one I'll look at here is Saturn, which is sitting in Sagittarius and has been going through kind of a little bit of a battle over the last 4 months of 2016, in that it was had been squaring Neptune in Pisces, and it had also been trining Uranus and Aries. So what does that all mean? Well, basically Saturn is the great teacher in the universe. So Saturn is bringing up issues for the individual as well as for the collective consciousness that need to be viewed with compassion and with a desire to resolve those issues in order to be able to advance. So having gone through that cycle of being in conflict or in a stressful situation with Neptune, it was telling us that we as a culture, as a global culture, are not really looking at our spiritual identities with a willingness to learn about who we truly are. And, you can see that everywhere in the world around you. All the various religions have these proclamations, I am a this, I am a that. And that, it sets the tone in this state of conviction, which is really, in truth, a complete misinterpretation of what spirit actually is. When we get into the deeper levels of God, we stop trying to ascribe a personality to God. God is not an avenger. God is not a healer. God is not a savior. God is love. That's all you need to look at. Love is an active force. Love generates things. Love makes things grow. Love makes things transform. Love heals things. So as we begin to approach our understanding of God from that level, that God is pure love, and love is all you need to put into any situation in order to heal it, then we start to take on the attributes of the meaning of God. So Saturn is kind of forcing us to look at that issue. Saturn is kind of amping up that dialogue around what is the nature of God and what is the nature of our existence. Who are we in relationship to God? The next planet, as we're moving out there, is good old Jupiter, the planet of joviality and expansion. And Jupiter basically wants us to discover our own infinitude, to stop living in this constricted state of consciousness, to stop living in a state of emotional, intellectual, or physical poverty. And that is, unfortunately, one of the conditions of this realm of consciousness, is that we have impoverished ourselves because we have divorced ourselves from that overall oneness. It's all about me wants to take the oil out of the land and get rich on it and yada, yada, yada. So we have to really look at the me identity in relationship to society and in relationship to the earth and in relationship to all sentient beings, and step back and realize that we are one with this organism. If we violate this organism, if we violate others or the earth or other animals, what we're doing is we are violating ourselves, and eventually that's going to come back and have a very profound and very negative effect on our own personal journey through the world. So Uranus's nature is to create an expansion of consciousness so that you are embracing all of creation and incorporating a love and appreciation for creation in all that you do. And currently Jupiter is in Libra, and Libra is all about society, socialization, interaction with people, balance, harmony, doing the dance of life with absolute wild abandon. And so Jupiter is starting off this year in a position where it's calling on us to join the dance, to get out on in our party hats and get out on the floor and embrace all of the world around us with a state of loving consciousness. The next planet out from that is Uranus, which is on the other side of the wheel, over in Aries. And Uranus is the gay activist. Uranus is, the different drummer, the guy who goes through the world with his own or her own interpretation of what life's meaning is. So with Uranus opposing Jupiter, and Uranus being in the sign of Aries, which is basically fundamentally the ego itself, we have this real strong tension coming up that's starting off the new year where tolerance becomes the subject. Uranus wants alternative visions, alternative ideas, alternative lifestyles. Jupiter wants expansion. And with those two kind of in an irritable position starting off the year, it's telling us that we have to be able to accommodate each other on the planet. Don't get frustrated when people don't have the same vision or understanding that you have, when they want to perform life in their own fashion. So that's really a very strong and very solid lesson for us to to step into. And that's going to be, one of the real series of kind of this grinding kind of energy as we move forward in this new year, is that there's always going to be somebody who's, transgender who wants to show up at a Christian church and have them their own personal bathroom. It just gets, hysterical and insane. Mm-hmm. So what we want to be doing is learning how to live without judgment and how to step into a higher level of tolerance. And Uranus is very unpredictable. So these situations are going to be arriving throughout the year in the context of values. What are my values? Is this person challenging my values? And maybe it's time for me to grow out of my values into a higher standard of values. So it's going to be a very testy kind of year as far as different organizations, different groups, different lifestyles, different belief systems. All of these are going to be up for review, and they are going to be, out there in the streets wanting to make changes. And of course, on a personal level, it's calling upon us to get out of the belief that we're the center of the universe and everybody should, surrender their beliefs to follow the dictates of my little ego as I float through the universe. And then the final planet that is exerting a huge amount of influence and has been doing so for forever, literally, is the planet Pluto. And it's up there in good old earthy Capricorn, up at the top of the chart in that 10th house. It is Pluto's cycle to be seen and to be heard. And Pluto is a purgative planet. In other words, Pluto brings up the ills, the darkness, the hidden agendas, the fears, the soreness within society, and exposes it. It makes everything very raw. So with Pluto sitting up there in that position of 17 degrees of Capricorn, it is continuing to be influenced as a square with Uranus. So Uranus is coming along and saying, we want a free planet. We want a free society. We want freedom to express ourselves in whatever way that we feel is necessary. Pardon me. And so we're going to see a lot of these restrictions that society wants to place on minority groups, on people who aren't up to snuff as far as the way they're performing in the world. And that conflict is going to be coming up all over the place and ready to be healed. And this can be a really huge year of healing for that, because this is forming a T-square in that a pair of squares in that Jupiter is on the other side of the wheel, also squaring Pluto. So we've got Uranus and Jupiter, the two planets that are seeking to create a greater level of transparency and harmony in the universe, squaring Pluto, which is saying, well, we can't have these desires hidden. They have to come up to the surface. They have to be addressed, and then we can actually begin to make progress. So all of these potentials are sitting up there in the skies for us to, contemplate. And the big thing is for us to recognize that we are so integrated with all of creation that we've actually given ourselves a roadmap as to how we can progress, how we can make that next step forward. And that can be found in the heavens at night. All you have to do is go out and look up, and you can feel a sense of, I belong here. This is, this universe is a part of me. It exists inside me rather than as an exterior phenomenon. So I'm able to see it as an exterior phenomenon, but nonetheless, I'm able to experience it as an internal process.
Nice. I like that. Beautiful. Oh, and there we go. Right to the commercial break. So when we get back, we'll do the weekly message. And any last words that Chris would like to share before the end of the show of our launching Charting of the Tides of Life? Be right back, my friends.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Hello, I'm John Lithgow. Manatees are unique, among the most amazing animals on Earth, but they're endangered. We pose the greatest threat to their survival. Many manatees are killed or injured by boats or other recreational activities. I'm a writer of children's books, including one about manatees, and I believe education is the key. You can be part of the solution. Please contact Save the Manatee Club right now. Call 1-800-432-JOIN. Thank you.
Welcome back to Vibe Nation Radio, where today my special guest is Chris Anderson, better known as One Feather. And this is the time where I jump in, and to be quite honest with you, I really don't have much to say. I'm kind of laughing because the message I'm getting from Spirit is that, oh my gosh, the light is going on. People are starting to see it. They're very happy with those that are listening to the show to say that the aha moments are kicking in and allowing people to see the bigger picture, that, we're here to create a foundation as one, this new earth that, again, we're not even in the age of Aquarius, but we're not going to go there right now. But Spirit is just saying, stop focusing on what you don't want and the lower vibrations, and start focusing on what you do want. And when the lower vibrations come out, which we call the boys, when the ego comes out to pounce on you, embrace it and just allow it to flow through you, because it has to flow through you to come out of you. It's when you suppress it is when you run into the issues. So they're just saying, spend a little bit more time, my friends, this week, turning the monkeys off, listening to what higher self has to say. Turn off the TV if you have to, or, don't allow other people to get you to react, respond to what people are saying. Remember, we're still in a retrograde, and they still want you to go within and reinvent who you are so that while you're doing this reflection time, when next week kicks in, that you'll be able to go out there and announce to the world who you are in a stronger state. So, Chris, you can carry on from there, my friend.
Okay, well, I think really the biggest and most important realization is that there is only one way to fix things, and that is through love. Whenever we, get out all of our tools and start our mumbo jumbo and we're dancing around the fire in the moonlight, it's great theater. It's a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it once or twice a year for people who haven't done it. But nonetheless, the reality is all of the acting, all of the movement, all of the words, all of the this and that are irrelevant. It's the going in and accepting that part of you that is seeking to express itself through you. That is the whole journey to healing yourself as well as all of the world. There was a fellow back in the 60s and 70s, a Native American medicine man by the name of Fool's Crow. And Fool's Crow was recognized as a very profound healer. He was always the first that the Native community in South Dakota would call upon, and Minnesota and North Dakota. He was very profoundly gifted. And when he dialogued about what it was the medicine man did, he said, well, we have to become hollow bones. And basically, he was saying that we have to take that ego self out of the center of our being and just go to that shell of, identity in order to bring into this realm that healing power. And he said, if you are a hollow bone, then you get out of the way, and love can come through you. And love is what heals. Love is what transforms. Love is what transcends all of the issues and all of the smallness of the mortal journey. So really, this is a year of becoming hollow bones, where we can go out in society and not have an ego response of judgment, not saying, oh, these guys are all screwed up, and oh, these people are pathetic, and these people are God's special people. That's one of the ugliest traps to fall into. But we get into that place of surrender, and we become a conduit for the emergence of the divine into this realm. And that really is the way it works. And astrology can help you identify all these different individual aspects of yourself that need to be looked at, embraced, filled with love, and surrendered. Because love will nothingize negativity. Anything that is wrong or out of place or in error, you bring love into it. It's like bringing a flashlight into a dark room. Where does the darkness go? It doesn't go anywhere. It just ceases to be. And that's what love does as a healing process. You bring love into a situation, and I guarantee you will see a healing of on one level or another occur. And not only the Native Americans realize this, but tribal peoples all over the world have practiced this for centuries, eons. So this is a year when we do want to embrace love. And interestingly enough, I do believe that this was 50 years ago, the beginning of the Summer of Love on the West Coast. So there's a certain synchronicity going on there, too, in that the major theme is to embrace love and not get derailed or distracted in the journey. A lot of people who were hippy-dippies out there running around having a good time in the woods really embraced love, but then they got caught in a storm and, ran out of food, and and they surrendered to getting into the realm of competition, aggression, attack, all of those things. And this time we have a chance here to start that whole process all over again, but to remain in our integrity and to stick with it and make this year a year when love is really embraced and, fully expressed and not in any way contained, not in any way measured out. Love is not something to be bargained with. We can't sell a pound of love. We can't buy a pound of love. We have to give it unconditionally and freely. And when we're confronted with the illusion of things being wrong, we have to go back to that place where we can take our stand in love, and then we will transform the universe.
Beautiful. 100%. 100%, Chris. That's beautiful. Now, for those who, I know we have a few more minutes left, I just want to make sure people know how to find Chris. So, again, Chris's website is, hold on a second here, I've got it right here, is onefeatherjournal.com. And where can you be found on Facebook, Chris?
My Facebook account. Let me pull that up real fast because it's Chris Anderson One Feather, and just all three words. Chris break Anderson break One Feather. You can find me
Anderson
there.
with an O, my friend.
Yes.
It's Anderson S-O-N, just to let people know.
Right, and I'm connected with you on Facebook, so people can probably track me down that way too.
Absolutely.
And
for those, go ahead.
I was just going to say I also am on Twitter, so I tweet a lot of kind of positive, upbeat things, and my tag on Twitter is Chris F.W. Anderson at one-feather, and that's the number one-feather. So you can find me on Twitter, and I will tweet at you, and you can tweet back at me, which is kind of groovy.
There you go. And what I'll do, Chris, after the show is I'll actually send a tweet out, and since you and I are connected on Twitter, I can attach you to it. So if anybody is connected with me on Twitter, you'll see the post, and you'll be able to find Chris for that way to be able to follow him as well. And because we are in the Mercury retrograde until this weekend, I just wanted to let those that are listening in that my retrograde special for a 30-minute tune-up where I just kind of tap into your energies, and then we do a soul tune-up of where you need to put your energy and where you need to focus, so where you're focusing on the love, as we've been talking about. And that special is coming only until the 8th, which is this Sunday. So when the retrograde is done, so is the special. So if you want to go to my website, carrieturcott.com, you'll see the Mercury retrograde special. It's a tune-up, so it's only 30 minutes. I usually don't do 30-minute readings, but because of where we are and the importance of, stepping into our own soul power, Spirit guided me to do this special, and I do them every once in a while, but again, you've got until Sunday, my friends, and you have to have your reading paid for and already done by Sunday. After Sunday, we'll no longer be doing retrograde readings specifically because we are getting out of retrograde, and this is about moving forward with who we are. So the reflection is going to now be reflected out to the world. So is there any last words you'd like to share, Chris, before the show comes to a wrap?
Actually, I'll leave everybody with a little thought here from T.S. Eliot, my favorite poet and one of the most astonishing voices of poetry of the last century. He said, "We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time." And that's from Little Gidding. So imagine that, arriving at a place that we already know and understand, but that we have been imagining that we have been separated from and that we're not able to access.
Beautiful. And again, like my theme, I keep saying this, and I'm going to say it again on this show, that, live life like a sunset, my friends. Embrace all that is. And again, we are not promised tomorrow. So you do your best today and love yourself, knowing that, when you set at night, you're going to bed in a very peaceful place. Wake up with that beautiful smile on your face that now you're the sunrise in the morning. You're going to treat your life like that sunrise. I just feel that when people understand that we all are one, we're one with nature, and when do we assume how a sunset's going to happen? We don't. It just happens. We don't get disappointed because we didn't have expectations of how the sunset was going to take place. And now that we're in the new, we've never been here before. It's like what our magic would be, like you just said. We don't know what that is because we've never really truly been here. So that's a beautiful saying. I really thank you for sharing that, Chris.
Absolutely. And it's also important to realize that every beautiful sunset and every beautiful sunrise you've ever witnessed resides within you, and you reside within it. So it's all going back to the recognition of oneness. Without oneness, you're out there in the boondocks on your own, alone, and there are probably going to be wolves chasing your ass down.
Like I just did in the VAR report, how the 4 little pigs became 3. That was quite a trip that I channeled there. But anyway, thanks again, Chris. I'm so looking forward to a brand new year with this and charting the tides of life. We'll be back on January 30th, where Chris and I will jump into what's taking place in February. Have a wonderful week, my friends, and feel that love. Thanks again, Chris. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful week, my friends.